the book's actually had mixed reviews, hasn't it? Because some people think there's so much that's not terribly nice in the book about you that you might just want to shut up about it rather than writing it. Why have you felt the need to write it? Because it's a third memoir.
It is. I suppose, honestly, I just have this compulsion that I cannot get rid of, which is to tell the truth as I see it, remember it, and feel it ought to be told.
Because obviously a lot of the tension has been on cocaine and drug use. The problem with the book is how you write about it as a very successful person without, in some sense, glamorising it.
Yes, I'm very keen not to glamorise it, and I'm very aware that for some it will seem, whatever I say, that I'm glamorising it, unless I tell lies. I mean, you're quite right to berate me, and I berate myself in a way for going on about it. But it's one of my characteristics, is I go on about things.
It's interesting, isn't it? In some ways, we're at the moment seeing this really curious phenomenon of going back to historic crimes of celebrities, aren't we?
Yes.
Sexual abuse 30 years ago. Libby Purvis wrote a rather excoriating review of the account of the book in which she said we're going after people who may have fondled somebody's breast 30 years ago, while this guy's getting away with openly talking about his law breaking.
Yeah, as has Mick Jagger, as has Elton John, as have some politicians,
Funny,
of course,
isn't it?
as has everybody. I mean, if people think I should be arrested for historical drug abuse, it's fine. I'm the only person I hurt. If people want to see me arrested, I do personally see a huge moral difference between invading somebody's physical space, raping them, groping them against their will, having sex with them when they're underage, and me feeding my face with stuff that did me harm.
What do you think of the going back over these historic sex cases, though? Do you think it's all... There are two views, aren't there? That this has become a bit of a witch hunt, and there's the view that it's obvious that this has to be done.
Two views about anything. Jimmy Savile was clearly an absolutely monstrous, depraved and repulsive piece of work. And the BBC and the police and the society, including the Conservative and other governments that supported him, gave him keys to institutions, allowed him access to number 10 Downing Street and palaces and all the rest of it, are so horrified by their own lack of judgment and their own, that they have turned on the same class of person, the disc jockey, who almost uniquely, disc jockeys and light comedians are ones who've been accused. If you wanted to talk about rock stars, do we have to name the rock stars that we think almost certainly had sex with 14-year-old children? But those 14-year-old girls are so proud of it that they, now in their 50s, wouldn't for a minute call themselves victims. What it seems to me is utterly wrong is that DPP has used the word victim of people who are alleged victims before the case has even come to court, before certain figures have even been charged. If they're guilty, then quite clearly there should be evidence, but they shouldn't be hung out like sticky flypaper to try and attract other. Oh yeah, I think he touched me too when I was that age.
Do you worry about it? Is it because you're clearly mixing in a circle at a time, a celebrity circle going back 80s and 90s, and it was a very different time. Now, not rape or underage sex or anything, but groping and fondling and all those kinds of things that.
I've always thought them pretty repulsive things to do.
Right.
I've never groped anybody as far as I know. But groping is not the same as penetrative rape.
No. Obviously,
so this is the point. Again, things are nuanced, and it's pretty grotesque to grope, especially an underage child who doesn't quite know what's happening to them. But it's not as grotesque as raping.
No.
And that the law has to be clear on that. And suddenly, everybody isn't Jimmy Savile just because they may have patted someone's bottom. You know.
I want to put to you a little theory that's just been in my head for the last 48 hours. You're very good with words, aren't you? I mean, that is basically what you're brilliant at. The book is interesting to read because the words are interesting. You write well. You're an actor, but you wouldn't think you're really that brilliant an actor, are you? Compared with your ability to craft words. Do you think maybe the wordsmiths get over-promoted in life?
Yes and no. It's interesting. I mean, on the one hand, it's distrusted, and I sometimes say, merely because I'm expressing myself well doesn't mean that what I'm saying is untrue.
But it doesn't mean it's true either.
It doesn't mean it's true either. But maybe you're right. Maybe because I have a certain sort of accent and a certain sort of articulacy, and I can wangle myself out of an argument by apparently seeming to be smart. And maybe that's something that should be resented, or at least
I'm not
distrusted.
saying it should be resented.
It is an interesting point. I don't know.
You didn't rise to my bait about not being a great actor. I mean, you played some great roles, but there's a certain similarity between them, isn't there? Do you think you could play a completely different role, like Russell Crowe in Gladiator, for example, or?
No, I'm not going to get cast as an action hero. Of course not. I was very pleased to be nominated for a Tony Award for a Shakespeare performance, and that seems to me to be at least some sort of recognition of something.
That's a good answer to my
so I wouldn't entirely, and indeed Golden Globe nomination, and so I have.
Okay, you put me in my place.
No, but I can understand why, especially because I'm a jack of all trades and master of none. But I would have it no other way. I mean, I really, really enjoy the variety I have in life, and I don't. I think there is. I said this when Peter Cook died on this very programme. And I was very angry about it. He died, yes, an alcoholic. He died, yes, in a way that was painful for those who knew and loved him. But to listen to the newspaper and television reports of his death, one would think one was living in a school. Peter did not live up to his promise. A disappointing life's work. What a pity. Well, bog off. Let him live his own life. Don't talk in such patronising, repulsive terms about someone you never knew and who lived the life that he led for reasons you could never possibly understand. How dare they discuss someone as great as Peter Cook in those terms? And they're always doing that. It's such a British thing, this school report attitude to people. If that, more than anything, brings out the transgressive in me, and makes me want to,
to rebel a bit.
Makes me want to break into the House of Lords and lay a turd on the carpet. Frankly.
Stephen Fry, thanks very much.